Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. We got another look at Jessica Jones with Daredevil and Kingpin this week, so I'll explain what's going on with them bringing her back to the MCU Daredevil Born Again episodes and the other Netflix Defenders characters like the Punisher, who's also going to have a huge story arc during the new episodes. Of course, I'll be doing episode videos for it when it premieres. Be sure to subscribe to get all those. There'll be a lot more stuff happening later this year and early next year just because everything's paused right now with the strikes. They've been delayed just a little bit. What they might wind up doing now is premiering the first half of the show in summer next year and then the second half of the show at the beginning of 2025. So for the most part, if you've heard about things getting delayed, movies, TV shows, the Marvel stuff, most of it's just been delayed by a couple months. Not everything, but some stuff. Don't worry about it right now. We'll still get to see all that stuff eventually, and I'll talk about the other movies and shows when I do videos for those specifically. Starting with all the new Jessica Jones stuff, though, this is on top of Easter eggs everyone spotted in real life earlier this year, but this past week, Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, and Kristen Ritter were at a convention together going full Defenders. That's why they were posting all these pictures.
So when we were doing...
Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
You could say the thing. When we were just hanging out, doing a project.
Even though technically Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin didn't appear in the actual Netflix Defender series, which seems like an oversight, like it feels like he should have been in that. Right now, as of me posting this video, the show has been on break recently for the strikes, but the actors can still do stuff like this together. That's why you're seeing them post these pictures together. When all the shows were still on the air back in the day on Netflix, they didn't actually do that many conventions together, but since they got canceled, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, all the other shows getting canceled, they've started doing way more conventions. Then obviously we saw them come back during Spider-Man No Way Home and the Hawkeye series, and it was just confirmed a lot of our suspicions. A lot of people then assumed that we would eventually see Kristen Ritter come back as Jessica Jones because earlier this year she was spotted in real life teasing her return. You can see her wearing a Daredevil Born Again t-shirt here. The logo is the exact same as the new MCU version of the logo that Kevin Feige just debuted at D23 at the big Daredevil panel.
Aren't you supposed to talk about my show? Wait, your show? I think you mean my show. Daredevil Born Again, coming to Disney Plus.
The funny thing about that is they were both there for the Echo panel for the Echo episodes, and they just stayed for the Daredevil Born Again episodes. I'll explain what's happening during Echo soon, too, because there's a big Daredevil Kingpin storyline during that. But they were just joking about whose show Daredevil Born Again would be. Like, Daredevil is in the title, you'd think it's about him. So Charlie Cox is like, what are you talking about, my show? But obviously Vincent D'Onofrio just joking the Kingpin is going to believe that it's his show. It's all about him. The reason why we were probably seeing Kristen Ritter posting this Daredevil-related stuff was because at the time that she posted it, they were getting ready to actually start filming Daredevil Born Again episodes. With all the delays, there's still a lot of filming left to do, so they obviously delayed the premiere dates, and it was originally supposed to premiere after the Echo episodes, which they just delayed to the beginning of 2024. So regardless of how long all these delays last, it's still coming after the Echo episodes. According to reports, Marvel also had a plan to bring Kristen Ritter back as Jessica Jones before this during the She-Hulk episodes. Which makes sense because her day job is a paralegal, so you'd expect her, Jennifer Walters, Matt Murdock to cross paths in the normal courses of their jobs outside of being vigilantes. It was the whole basis for Daredevil's cameo on She-Hulk. He was in LA as Matt Murdock first as a lawyer. They had a teaser while he was there for his new Daredevil suits as well too. Like, it turns out that he's getting his new suits from this person in LA now.
Luke Jacobson made a couple of new suits for me, so I owed him one.
Doesn't really look like it.
It's a low blow insulting a blind man's clothes.
The new suits that he references there are suits that he'll wear in the future on the Echo series and Daredevil Born Again. Like, there are a couple other suits that were made for him that we didn't see because we won't see them until Echo and Daredevil Born Again. All the new ones are meant to be versions of his comic book suits. Like, the yellow one was based on his very first red and yellow suit from his first comics appearance. That was why they had all the jokes about it on the series about it looking like ketchup and mustard. Like, why would you wear such clashing colors? Like, wouldn't you want to not stand out in the battle? He was wearing it because it was his first comic book suit, and obviously, like, a lot of the logic in those classic comics is really jokey.
Is that I couldn't figure out who it was, and I realized it was the new Daredevil suit, and they've incorporated the gold or the yellow from some of the earlier Daredevil comics.
He'll also have a version of his classic red suit reimagined, like a brand new version of the red suit, not the same one that he wore during Daredevil Netflix. He'll also have a version of his newer black suit, not the classic one from the Daredevil Netflix series, like the lo-fi black suit. The new one would be like the back in black costume, which is just a little bit different, like an upgraded black costume. The story for Jessica Jones in the MCU probably hasn't changed that much, even though they've moved around some of the series and they got rid of her cameo scenes during She-Hulk. But during the Echo episodes, there's supposed to be a bunch of Daredevil and Kingpin because of Kingpin's relationship with Echo. He's meant to be one of the main villains of that series too, but in a much bigger way than he was during the Hawkeye series. Like during Hawkeye, it was a pretty short cameo. And even though there was a little bit more of Daredevil during the She-Hulk episodes, that was still just a smaller cameo. There's supposed to be more of them, more scenes for them in the Echo series. And it'll be the first time that Daredevil and Kingpin are in the same series, like in the same production together in the MCU, even though canonically they're treating the characters almost as the same versions from the Netflix series. They're picking and choosing what parts of the canon they bring forward from the Netflix series, but for the most part, the series is supposed to be canon. But according to Charlie Cox, they're reimagining some aspects from the show, so like not every single little thing is going to be something that they carry forward. Really good example, that's why the yellow suit on She-Hulk looked almost exactly the same as the classic red suit on the Netflix series, just to show you that most of that stuff was canon. During the Echo episodes, the story for Jessica Jones is supposed to be that she's missing and Daredevil's looking for her, aside from the main story of Echo versus Kingpin and Daredevil versus Kingpin going on. So while they're all busy in the background, Daredevil is still looking for Jessica Jones. The whole idea with Kingpin is that Echo didn't kill him at the end of Hawkeye, they just made it seem that way. This ending scene is just right out of the comics. Her backstory on the series is similar to the comics version. She's from the Daredevil comics, like a lot of the She-Hulk villains. Most of those smaller funny villains were either like Daredevil villains or Punisher villains, because they're bringing so many of the Netflix characters into the MCU in a much more proper way. Kingpin raised Echo to be his weapon, lied to her saying that Daredevil killed her father so that she'd be more effective in trying to get rid of him for Kingpin. Then secretly, as we saw in Hawkeye, it was Kingpin who killed her father, betraying her. So they just did a version of that on the Hawkeye series. She shoots him in revenge the same way, but only winds up blinding him, and when he returns is meant to be this ironic twist because he's blind just like Daredevil for a little while, but eventually he gets his sight back. The whole thing with the Echo series is supposed to explore some special powers and mythology that they teased during her bedtime story with her father. Like they talk about this crazy magic, the story that he tells her. Supposedly that's going to turn into like a real thing during the Echo series, and it'll be that stuff weaved with regular crime thriller because you have Daredevil Kingpin characters. Jessica Jones might have a cameo scene in Echo. I don't think she's supposed to, but it's always possible that they change some of that because they've shuffled the series around a little bit. There have been a couple of delays, but he is supposed to find her during Daredevil Born Again, and she's a bigger part of the plot during that series, like the way that you would expect her when they say that she's going to be a big part of the series. The way that Charlie Cox talked about the episodes, he said that Daredevil Born Again would be just like the tone and the vibe of the Netflix series, but because they had so many extra episodes, they'd be doing way more courtroom scenes like you saw during Daredevil Season 2 when he was defending the Punisher. There's been a bunch of footage of John Bernthal just working out on Daredevil Born Again, just in general.
Hey, we got the Punisher in the building. This the truth. This the truth.
The other Netflix Defenders characters said that they love to come back. It's just a question of availability and what room they have for them in the story. Like, what are they already doing? Like Luke Cage, Colleen Wing, even Finn Jones said that he wanted to come back as Iron Fist. You probably saw that recently too. Some news articles about Iron Fist wanting to prove people wrong that he would come back in the MCU. We'll see about that. I really wasn't a fan of what they did with the character, so I'm totally fine with them just waiting to use him for years or just completely recasting the Iron Fist role in the MCU. My actual MCU Iron Fist idea is for them to just do something completely separate with him and use him as one of the villains of the Shang-Chi series, because he's supposed to be a hero, but because Shang-Chi's people worship the great protector dragon in Ta Lo, and Iron Fist gets his powers from killing a cosmic dragon, they should just say that MCU Iron Fist winds up killing the great protector dragon as part of his origin story, instead of the concept of the capital cities of heaven, Kunlun, their celestial configuration, the tournament of heaven, and just say that they exist in the same alternate dimension that Ta Lo does. And they can use the Iron Fist mythology in the Tournament of Heaven to do a really badass Shang-Chi tournament arc for the character. Like classic Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, which they kind of use as inspiration for some of the first Shang-Chi movie. Like we all want to see Shang-Chi get a much cooler tournament arc. The Iron Fist Tournament of Heaven in the capital cities of heaven would be the way to do that. Then they can just fold Iron Fist into more ground level, Daredevil, street level stuff in the MCU. The bigger storyline they're supposed to be doing during Daredevil Born Again Season 1 is Mayor Kingpin. Like the whole idea in Marvel Phase 5, just in general, through all the movies, all the series, is they're going with a very Dark Reign-inspired overarching story spinning out a secret invasion where the antagonists take control in positions of power. Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to become President of the United States around the same time, like in Captain America 4 New World Order, which is being released right around the same time that Daredevil Born Again is being released. Val's already become director of the CIA, now wielding enormous power which she's going to use to create the Thunderbolts, and it all spins out of what happens with the evil Skrulls in Secret Invasion, and the whole idea is that the villains, the antagonists, start taking credit for getting rid of them, and riding that wave of popularity to even greater political power. Kingpin's story is just localized to New York City, with him basically taking control of New York City, riding that wave, and turning it into something more akin to a police state, like doing really terrible stuff in the light of day, and people loving him for it because of what happened with the Skrulls. Like, look, see, if we're not this hardcore, then the Skrulls are going to take over the planet again. But everyone, let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with the other Netflix Defenders characters? It sounds like we'll see them in addition to Jessica Jones in the next few years. We'll start getting some more Daredevil Born Again footage when they start actually filming the episodes again, so of course I'll do more videos once that happens, and my Ahsoka Episode 4 video will post next, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here for that video, I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here to learn what's going on with the Doctor Strange 3 movie. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.